Have you ever looked around a crowded room and still felt completely alone? Here's the strange part. You can have hundreds of followers, dozens of contacts, people texting you every day, and your brain can still believe you've been abandoned. That's the silent epidemic almost nobody is talking about. Loneliness isn't just about being alone. It's about feeling unseen. And once you understand why that happens, you'll start noticing it everywhere. Think about the last time you opened your phone. You checked a few messages, watched a few videos, maybe liked a few posts. For a moment, it felt like connection, but then you put the phone down, and somehow the silence felt even louder. Our brains evolved over thousands of years to survive in small tribes where eye contact, touch, shared laughter, and real conversations meant safety. Today, we've replaced many of those moments with notifications, emojis, and endless scrolling. The result? Your brain receives constant signals that people exist, but very few signals that you truly belong. That's a huge difference. Here's a simple experiment. Imagine you're walking through a city. Thousands of people pass by. Nobody looks at you. Nobody smiles. Nobody knows your name. Now imagine one person stops, remembers something you said last week, and asks how you're doing. One interaction. That's often enough to completely change how you feel. Why? Because the human brain isn't searching for more people. It's searching for proof that it matters. This is where things become dangerous. Loneliness changes the way you see the world. Psychologists have found that when people feel chronically lonely, they start interpreting neutral situations as rejection. A friend replies late, they don't like me anymore. Someone seems distracted, I must have said something wrong. It's like wearing invisible glasses that make the world seem colder than it really is. And here's the trap. The more lonely you feel, the more likely you are to withdraw. You stop texting first. You decline invitations. You convince yourself nobody really wants you around. But every step backward creates even more loneliness. It's a cycle that feeds itself. Now here's something most people never realize. The opposite of loneliness isn't popularity. Some of the most famous people in the world have admitted they felt incredibly lonely. The opposite of loneliness is being genuinely known. One honest conversation is often more powerful than 1,000 followers. One friend who truly understands you is worth more than a room full of strangers applauding your success. So why is loneliness growing even though we're more connected than ever? Because we've become experts at showing our lives, but beginners at sharing ourselves. We post achievements instead of fears, highlights instead of struggles, smiles instead of questions. Everyone looks connected. Almost nobody feels understood. What if the person sitting next to you at work feels exactly the same? What if the classmate who never talks is waiting for someone to start a conversation? What if the strongest looking person you know is quietly hoping someone asks, "Are you really okay?" Most people aren't hiding because they have nothing to say. They're hiding because they're afraid nobody will care. But here's the surprising truth. Research and everyday experience both point to the same idea. Genuine connection usually doesn't begin with confidence. It begins with vulnerability. Someone has to be the first person to say, "I've been struggling." Someone has to send the first message. Someone has to ask the second question instead of ending the conversation after, "How are you?" That small moment of courage can break a cycle that's been growing for years. Maybe the loneliness epidemic isn't happening because we've forgotten how to connect. Maybe it's happening because we've forgotten how to be real. So the next time you feel invisible, remember this. Your brain may be telling you that you're alone, but that feeling is not always telling you the truth. Somewhere nearby, another person is probably waiting for the exact same thing you're waiting for, someone to make the first move.